episode number 40 of the Illiana Stock Car Radio.
Oh my God, we're old.
I know. We're getting over the hill here.
Yeah.
Pretty quickly. If you haven't figured it out by now, I'm your host, Jeremy Banning, alongside me, as always, owner-operator, Goodacre Photography, Mr. Chris Goodacre.
That's me.
Welcome back in. We kind of took
Thanks for having me yet again.
Yeah, we're last week off.
We're off schedule, but not like off schedule. We celebrated the holiday weekend by spending all of it at a racetrack.
Yeah, well, you had, like I said, had the holiday weekend. We had some things going on Wednesday night, which would have been quite the barrier to editing content, so to speak.
What you're saying is you were busy.
We were busy.
Yeah,
we were busy. I was trying to fluff it up a little bit, but yeah, we were busy.
We were all busy. I'm still
You're
working.
Still busy.
I'm still busy.
You're still busy.
Yeah. Everybody is, hey, end of the season. All right, we'll see. And I still got a month.
Yeah. But it kind of worked out, though, pushing us back, because tonight on this week's show, we get to preview one of the bigger events around here in the area.
Yeah.
Probably the biggest event around.
Yeah, I'd say for the strictly local Chicagoland area, this is the big one.
This is the big one. Now, obviously, the Tony Bettenhausen Memorial 100, now held at the Grundy County Speedway. Mm-hmm. So tonight we will have Steve Bechtel in to not only preview the Tony Bettenhausen Memorial 100 and kind of talk about that and what we can expect and who we might have on hand for that. We'll also kind of get a quick season review over the Grundy County Speedway.
Yeah,
obviously, the points nights are wrapped up.
Weird season.
So, and it's hard to believe it's already over,
I know. It feels like we were just getting ramped up, and then, admittedly, having the first 2 months be
rain
wet.
Out. Yeah, that doesn't help anything. So.
Yeah, because I could use one of those rainouts later in the season.
Yeah, well, yeah, because it rained the first 2 months of the season, and
then nothing.
So
I didn't get my off week that I used to get caught up.
Yeah, you didn't get your catch up week, so you're still playing catch up. So.
Yeah.
I
might have the pictures done by next season.
I'm choking now. You got me laughing over here. So.
Yeah, I didn't think that was that funny, but all right.
Well, basement, just a little dry down here.
Yeah, you got water.
That's true. I'll bust into that here in a minute. So
yeah, I would plug our hydration specialist, but I haven't seen him in a while.
So. Yeah, what the heck, man?
Well, I know he's got his new car he's working on.
He does. He's been posting pictures of that,
especially after sending the old car.
Yeah, out in a blaze of glory.
Yeah. I told him he called his car evil. There's no way in hell it was going to win its last race.
Yeah, he kind of thought about that. They have nicknames for a reason. Mm-hmm. When you call it evil, it's pretty much going to act that way. So.
Yeah, Evil Knievel, I believe, had more broken, not successful.
Yeah, broken things and bones and all that kind of stuff. So what we're going to be doing this week, previewing the Bettenhausen, reviewing Grundy County Speedway. Steve Bechtel will be along here in just a minute to talk about that. Before we get too far though, it kind of dawned on me a bit ago that this episode will actually be dropping on September 11th. So obviously we want to take a second out to remember all the victims of the events of September 11th, 2001. I know I'm in an industry where I'm reminded of it every day.
Every day, yeah.
We've got a corridor at TFT that is strictly dedicated to 9/11 with memorabilia and pictures and all that stuff. So I see it on a daily basis.
Yeah, so. I would think your company be pretty heavily tied into that.
We're very much so. So we definitely want to take time to remember those events and remember all who perished, and also want to say thank you to all of our first responders out there who come rushing in times of need instead of running away. So definitely want to send a shout out there as well. So before we get too far, we got some help.
Yeah, you want to thank some people.
Any farther, I want to do some thanking of some people. First one, it's kind of cool here. So Damn It Race videos. Want to thank them.
Damn It Racing.
Damn It Racing now. Yeah, that's the cool part. We'll put the video stuff kind of on the side burner here for a minute, but somebody strapped in a race car this past weekend at the Showdown.
I'm actually kind of jealous.
Yeah.
I was told there was going to be a media race and all of us photogs and videogs were going to be participating, but I think that kind of fell apart. But Dimmitt strapped in for the mechanics race at the South Bend Showdown, and proudly and gleefully ran the slowest laps I think I've ever seen.
You know what? That's all right. He was out there. He wanted to try it. He said it was a bucket list item for him. I read his rather long Facebook post about his experience, and it was, I don't know, it's kind of cool to have somebody, who's wanted to do it, that bucket list item, just get that perspective. I know you're sitting over here raising your hand. Well, hey, you can talk to the right people.
Actually, Melissa Keys, who we'll get to here momentarily, she had a car kind of lined up for me to operate, and drive. No, it was operating. There was no driving.
Well, there's driving. About 2 hours. Racing and driving is different.
Right. About 2 hours after she said that car became no more. Well, okay. Now the car I think was still relatively okay. The motor in it, not so much.
Not so much. Yep, that's been there.
So
I've done that.
I mean, I probably could have Fred Flintstone my way around and put on a good show with Dimmitt, but
that would have been a photographer versus videographer. That would have been good. But shout out to James Dimmitt, Damn It Dimmitt Race Videos. All they do to support us. You can check them out on Facebook and YouTube. I'm sure he's gearing up for the Bettenhausen as well.
I believe he's working on, I think, the Grundy Championship video.
Right, I saw something about that the other day.
Posting the South Bend Showdown videos kind of sporadically through the week. Yeah,
so keep checking the Facebook page and the YouTube pages for that. Damn It Dimmitt Race Videos. And just cool that he was able to get that perspective. Kind of gives you a new appreciation for it. So awesome for him. I also want to thank S4 Motorsports. You can find all their information on Facebook and Instagram. The schedule.
Yeah, you guys just had some parades recently, didn't you?
They did. They had the Lowell Labor Day Parade. So they had that going on there. That was after we were out there Friday night of the triple header weekend. Car ran real well.
Yeah.
After we got some rear end problems figured out after the first practice, some things that were still kind of muddied up from their incident a couple weeks ago, having a chassis issue. But yeah, no, it was fun. It was even fun for me to get out to the track and get my hands dirty again.
We kind of totally blindsided.
Yeah, we kept that one close to the vest that we were going to be there and just kind of go under the radar. And
I was starting to think you forgot how to get there.
No, I knew how to get there. It's just a matter of traffic letting me get there. But
that I know.
The drive home was a breeze.
Love the drive home.
But out there, not
drive
so much,
home
man.
I could do in my sleep.
You've done it. I was this close to doing it. About the last 30 minutes of that drive was rough.
Yeah. Yep. Pretty much when I get back to Indiana, it's okay. I need to get home now.
Yeah. I was good until I got off onto I-65, and then that was like you're like almost on.
You take a right there.
Yeah, you're almost on autopilot at that point because you've driven that road so many times, and that's usually not a good thing.
Yeah. So, and that's right where all the lights go away too.
Yeah, that's bad too. S4 Motorsports, they're entered in the Bettenhausen.
I saw that this
weekend.
I saw it was actually Paul Zolod's at one point.
Well, trust me, it is Stan Jr.
Yeah, I saw when the list was updated, it was corrected.
Yes, so he is running that car. I unfortunately have a prior event, and I will not be able to attend.
Killing me.
It was a work-related deal, and we agreed to it before we knew that we were racing the Bettenhausen when the Bettenhausen was. So that's what we've got going on. Good Acre Photography, those guys.
Yeah, those guys. They'll have some pictures for you to look at after you miss the Bettenhausen. Eventually.
I know we were talking about it a bit upstairs. You're a little backlogged.
Had some technical difficulties. Ended up having to redo an entire day's worth of work, which put me like 2 days behind because math is fun. Because, no sooner did I almost get caught up than we went to some racetracks again.
Yep. So it always keeps coming back around.
That would be how racing works, yes.
Yes. Circular. It's circle.
Uh-huh.
Feeling the flow.
So I'm going to do my damnedest to get everything posted this week because I don't want to go a week behind, especially this. I made it this far in the season, so here's hoping.
Fingers crossed for him.
Fingers are crossed. The computer's working on some automated stuff right now that hopefully by the time I get home will be completed and everything will be functioning again. Maybe. So find all that stuff. Facebook, Instagram, go to photography.com. All the good deal there. Oh yeah, I was supposed to do that part too.
Yeah, I got it. Don't worry about it. I got it.
You're hired.
Yeah. Oh man, I forgot to.
You got to plug the computer in.
We got to hurry up with the rest of this recording.
All right.
So International Women's Motorsports Association. I want want to thank them. Check them out on Facebook and IWMANation.com. All kinds of cool stuff going on there. And then also Left Turn Graphics. You can check out what they got going on Facebook.
Yeah, I believe they've got some end of the season
sponsor promo specials going on. So if you're looking to do something cool for your sponsors,
you should definitely buy some pictures for them.
That would be a good sponsor.
They like 8x10s.
The pictures and graphical items and plaques and stuff, whatever they've got going on over there. Just nice big like smorgasbord of a thank you.
Yeah.
Because obviously without your partners, without your fans and family and everything, it makes this very tough. So check out Left Turn Graphics and all of our photography partners, and get your partners some good swag for the end of the year.
Nice segue.
Yeah. So with that being said,
we're going to actually segue.
We're actually going to segue, but before we do, make sure you can check out our show on Podbeans, iTunes, YouTube. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram. Just follow along, keep tabs of what we got going on. Our season's getting close to being over with the race season as well.
Bettenhausen this week, and then the Mystery 100 Shady Hill the week after, and then I get a small break before I have to start doing stuff for the banquets.
Yeah, so there we go. So it's getting ready to wrap up here for us, but before we do, we want to preview the Tony Bettenhausen Memorial 100 and review the 2019 Grundy County Speedway Steve Bechtel. So we are going to segue into that and hope you guys enjoy it and hope to see you next time. And in the meantime, keep going fast and turning left.
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
I can't complain when doing good anyways.
Starting to get worried you're going to let us go to voicemail there.
No, it only rang two times on my side.
Okay.
Must have been this wonderful connection I have.
Well, we are down in the basement.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, the studio.
The bunker.
The high-dollar studio.
Yeah, well, make it.
There you go.
Yeah, like class it up a little bit, make it sound a little bit better than it is. You know.
Well, if we hold $1 up against the ceiling, it is a high-dollar studio.
That's a first one. That's a dad joke. If
I'll see my way out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez, man. I don't know how you guys put up with it.
It's been a long day.
Man.
Well, they put me out in the infield by myself.
That's true. That's why. That's exactly why.
And now you wonder why.
Nothing has ever been so clear as to why he gets stuck out there every week. So, how you doing this night, Steve?
I'm good. It's been a good, crazy last couple of weeks with, 3 days racing at Grundy a while ago and getting ready for the Bettenhausen. Crazy but excited. Really looking forward to this weekend.
Awesome. Well, before we get too far on the Bettenhausen, because obviously there's quite a bit there to digest and talk about, let's kind of recap the 2019 Grundy County Speedway season a little bit. Had some tight points battles and a lot of good racing. Anything stand out to you guys over there this year?
I guess as an employee, you see a little bit more obviously than the casual fan or even a driver. This year, probably my 10th year working there. This year just had a little bit of everything. Between the racing on the track, some new rules, stuff going on. With management, had a couple people pass away in the Carter family, and that kind of took its toll on some stuff behind the scenes. Had weather issues. Not just rain, which seemed like the whole first, 6 weeks of the season, was a rain issue, but then, crazy heat later on in the year, fluctuating car counts, good point battles, just a little bit of everything. Anytime there's racing going on, there's, you can point out, little things that, that stick out to you, obviously.
Sure. Kind of talked about some of the points battles you had. Late model division, Eddie Hoffman pretty much dominated most of the year. Like we would expect anything else out of him. So,
he did. I think he got a handle on the tires a little bit quicker than some of the other guys did. He did come out like gangbusters, and he put together a lot of solid finishes and some wins. And I tell you what, though, there's a lot of people out there smarter than I am with tech stuff and tires, and to me the racing seemed a little different. The more the season went on, the more some of these guys figured out the tire, the more we started getting higher car counts. Nathan Kelly and David Einhaus were just phenomenal at the tail end of the season. Both of them winning features, both from really starting to figure it out. Actually, both of them outpointing Eddie a lot of nights there towards the end of the season. Yeah. So, the season was a little... Yeah, Dean Patterson, really, turned some heads up there, getting some good, solid finishes. Tony Brody winning his first feature, Keith Tolf winning his first career super late model feature, Josh Nelms in limited appearances winning a feature. I was really encouraged by what we saw with the late model division. I just think the lead that Eddie kind of got on everybody early on in the season, you kind of looked like he was going to go on cruise control, and then it kind of leveled out some to where the kids kind of gained on him some, and he just had a couple of uncharacteristic nights to where, I remember one night he qualified 10th and started in the front row of the fast heat and won it, and of course the internet exploded, sandbagging, and then he finished 8th in the feature. When you qualify 10th and finish 8th, I got news for you. That's not sandbagging.
Yeah, right.
That's not the top 5 car that night. So, like I said, I'm really impressed with David Einhaus. He battled a lot of adversity early on in the season with some crazy, wrecks, leading the race and get involved with the lap car and really tearing up his race car. And Nathan Kelly, he was bad fast that last week, and I think he had quick time the last night of the season.
Yeah, I think so.
Went to the back of the pack, tapped out, went to the back, and then worked his way back up. So, like I said, expecting Nathan to be fast this Saturday for the Bettenhausen.
Sure, you kind of mentioned it as the season went on, especially the last couple of weeks of the season. Some very strong car counts in the late model division.
Yeah, and I just want to throw this out there. At the beginning of the season, it was kind of a little bit of joke as far as the car count goes that we were running the risk of Dan Odell having to go through tech, and then he started getting really racy.
That was, I guess, that would be one of the things where you said what stood out. I mean, I guess I overlooked that kind of, in the course of a whole season, you're trying to take everything in. That was one of the things that definitely kind of stood out to me, watching him go from, the end of last year to where he was done, he was retired, he wasn't going to come back and race. He was very excited to be on the tire that we chose this year, came back out, and he was out there, he was finishing races. He was finishing races on the lead lap. He was moving guys out of the way. He was, door slamming some people. And, for a guy that's been out there since the track opened in 1971, to see him still out there and smiling and happy. Every time you ask him, hey, you coming back next week, or you coming back next year? You coming to the Bettenhausen? And he's like, why? You guys want me to come? And it's like, that's just kind of his mentality. Yeah, we want you to come race. That was one thing. And I guess one thing I want to say, maybe before I forget this, and this is something that, on the outside looking in, you might not have realized it. Matt Chester, though, in the pure stock division, he wins the championship. Not a lot of people maybe realize this. He drove 5 different cars.
Oh, God.
Throughout the course of the season. I mean, he started the year with his car. He flipped it. He wrecked it. It was junk. He hopped in a car owned by Trevor Martin, came out and ran a night or two. Had another car built, came out there, totaled that one, and a big, you never see the big one in pure stocks, but man, that wiped out
he was in all
quite a few cars that night. Yeah. So destroyed that car. Dan Schmeising stepped up and let him use his car, and that was, to me, kind of the clincher for him to pick up a couple of feature wins in Dan's car to kind of keep him in the point hunt. Build another car and finish the season in his car. I know it's only pure stocks. A lot of fans don't even stick around to the end of the night, but man, that kid just never gave up all season long. And like I said, to go through 5 cars, that's like Raceway Park 1976 hobby stock days. You probably got to dig that far back to find a guy that's driving that many cars to win a championship.
Well, yeah, and he barely eked out that championship too. I mean, only 9 points or so.
Yeah, that ended up actually being our closest point battle on Labor Day weekend going into Sunday. That was pretty much the only one that wasn't finalized. Again, I mentioned earlier about a lot of the stuff going on behind the scenes, and like I said, going into the weekend, didn't think it was going to be a double point night. That changed, and that kind of opened some stuff up and changed some things, and then one by one, the dominoes just kind of fell. Hoffman won his championship, Murphy won his, LeGuy won his. what better way to end the final point night of the season with a race that matters. And there's two guys going into because there's nothing worse than a guy clinching a championship in August. I don't care, what kind of race fan you are, what track you go to, asphalt, or you don't want to, in a perfect world, it comes down to the last lap, last spot. A pass goes down and a guy wins or loses by, one championship. That's what the fans would like to see. So
just as long as you promise me we're not going to a chase.
Yeah, he doesn't want he doesn't want a playoff.
Yeah, he doesn't want to sit in the infield another 10 weeks. I get it.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. That'd be a lot more he has to catch up on. So,
when two oval engineering cars, and I gotta throw this out there because I'm dating the cousin of the owner. When two oval engineering cars win championships, and Dave decides, okay, let's bring out all of the oval cars and take a picture of pretty much everybody in the stands, that takes a while.
Get him some cheese with his wine over here.
Yeah, the life of the photographer. Last I checked, you decided to do that. So,
true.
Oh man, we talk about some of the other divisions too. The Mid-Am division. Aaron Shelton had a strong, first portion of the season, but Kevin Murphy came on and pulled through and got the championship there towards the end of the year.
Shelton was very strong. He did some traveling and was strong, and I think a lot of the wins maybe overshadowed some stuff that Kevin Murphy was doing, to where every night Shelton was winning, Murphy was right there. I mean, this wasn't one of those things to where it came out of nowhere. I mean, you kind of could tell after about the first 5-6 weeks it was going to come down to one of those two guys, and they pretty much won a lot of the features, a lot of the fast times, and stuff like that. So it was really close. Pretty much going late into the season. Again, not a tech guy. You hate to have a tech situation change things, but a tech infraction kind of changed up the point deal there. Heading into the last 2-3 weeks, and even then it was still close. And like I said, at the end, Kevin Murphy, he did what he had to do, won the championship, and it was good racing. Mid-Am's all in all, they get a bum rap. They even get a bum rap from me sometimes, to where it just seems like, man, are we going to have another 40-minute feature? It's just like but there was a lot of nights this year where, they were pretty good, and it was some good racing and some nice car counts. And like I said, you get a lot of a good mix of different drivers in that division. And like I said, it was exciting just about every night. Even when guys were, dominating and winning a lot of features, Shelton and Murphy, Ventrella won a bunch this year. It seems like it's not like they took the lead on lap 3 and just checked out. A lot of those guys are setting fast time and starting in row 5 and 6 and having to work their way through. So it was some good racing.
Sure, and then obviously we don't want to forget Eddie Legui pulling out the Street Stock Championship over there.
Eddie Legui, I feel like he clinched the championship in May. It just seems, Johnny Sinertia, Timmy Stewart, they were right there with him all the way. Legui did have some problems, obviously, throughout the year, but that car just, there's so many good cars in that division. We lost Rick Dawson earlier, but, he's a former champion. Bill Service lost a motor, but he was a former champion. Rita Fields, the worst luck in that division. She was fat. If Eddie wasn't fast time, Rita was. And you look at Randy Weiss and all the Stewart's championships and all the Sinertia championships, and it's just insane racing. And Eddie just seemed to be that one half step above of everybody the whole season long, and really put together a really nice season.
Yeah, him and Johnny Sinertia all year. That was, there were some times that it was a little questionable, I guess, but overall, that was a lot of just good short track racing. I don't want to say clean, but they were beating on each other within their ability of beating on each other.
Well, and you know what, Chris, you nailed it right on the head. You said their ability. I've seen guys that could do some of the things that those guys done, and they were in over their heads. And one guy would wreck, and one guy would go on the wall, and this guy would flip, or that guy. Those guys, as rough as it looks sometimes out there, it's I really don't feel like it was on the edge of them being out of the control. Sometimes that's just kind of how they race. I've seen both of them do that for years at Raceway Park. For me, growing up at Raceway, I mean, it was fun to kind of watch them do that. The fans love it. Anytime a track has something like that happens, the internet, blows up, and that was awesome, and blah, blah, blah. And obviously you can't do that every single week, but when it happened to me, it was enjoyable. And, like I said, it was just some good, hard racing, and that's such a tough division.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, you talk about some good, hard racing. We got some coming up still this weekend. Kind of close things off with the Tony Bettenhausen Memorial 100 event. So for those that may not know, we might still have some, folks out towards South Bend Way, and
we're getting some strange faces in this year that might not quite appreciate the history of what we're about to do.
Yeah. So kind of run down a brief history of the Bettenhausen 100.
Well, the Bettenhausen was named after a driver, Tony Bettenhausen, a driver that got his start obviously in the Chicagoland area, lost his life in a tragic accident practicing for the Indy 500. And don't know the exact, how it was set up, the race. I heard that it was basically set up to kind of like a benefit race. I heard some of the money went to the family, some of the money went to a hospital that he was kind of affiliated with. I mean, that's a question probably for Stan Kalwazinski the next time he's on the show. But, they set up the Bettenhausen Memorial 100, back in 1962. And, they've ran it every year since. They ran it up until 2015, and then Illiana closed in 2016. And, a lot of people thought the race was gone, and there was talk of, other racetracks. I remember at one point M40 had talked about running the Bettenhausen, and this track was going to run it and that track. And I remember, reaching out to Mike McCooley, and he didn't seem, that interested. And, I guess he kind of had the mindset. He was going through a lot. I think he had the mindset as it was an Illiana race, just Illiana's gone, let the race be gone. And I know I just kind of kept pushing him, saying, it's a Chicagoland tradition. When you think of Illiana and, Grundy was pretty much, the drivers interchanged a lot. And,
right.
And, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, we ended up getting the Bettenhausen at Grundy, and it's been there ever since. So 58th annual, definitely one of the longest running, stock car events, consecutive running events, and in history, right up there with Rockford Speedway, their short track nationals, and stuff like that. So yeah, just a neat deal. A lot of history with that. Whether you're an old fan, young fan, or whatever, it's just until you can actually look at a list. And again, this is. Stan Kalwazinski, he puts such amazing stuff out there on the internet, and when you just go through like a list of some of these winners and some of the guys that have raced there, it's just unbelievable. I don't know if you want me to get into it. I mean, we can talk about some of the drivers. I don't know how much time we have, but just some of the guys. It's just remarkable.
Well, I was going to ask you to go over some of the previous winners of the event. So have at it.
Segue. So, Troy Ruttman was, the first winner back in 1962. So not a bad deal to have a former Indianapolis 500 winner win the first annual race, So that I always thought was cool. The first few races were USAC stock car events. It wasn't, really open to the, like the late model stuff that was running at the time, at Illiana and, Waukegan and Rockford and Raceway Park, etc. Excuse me. And, Norm Nelson, won one of the old ones. Paul Goldsmith won, one of the first few ones. And then they kind of opened it up to the late model stuff. And there it was just a who's who. They kind of went for a while to where there wasn't much Chicagoland flavor. The Moose Myers won a few of them. Joy Fair out of Michigan, won some. Gene Edding won a race. Joe Ruttman, ended up in NASCAR, 15 years later. Troy Ruttman's brother, he won one, and then we started getting, a little bit more of some local flavor throughout the 70s. Tom Reffner came down, and kind of one that stands out. Obviously not to me, I was too young for it, but you read the reports on it. The race got rained out 3 weeks in a row.
Cool.
So Tom Reffner came down from Wisconsin 4 weeks in a row just to get that Bettenhausen race in, and he won it. And like I said, then we kind of went on a run. Ray Young won some. A shocker, Tony Izzo, if you're a dirt fan, he was competitive, and he won a race there in the late 70s. And then we started getting a couple of Arco guys, Joe Shear, Jim Sauter, and then the Frank Kalinske years took over to where he won like 112 of them or something. Like he was just ridiculous. I think he won like 9 or 11 of them.
I believe 9.
Ed Hoffman, 9. Okay.
Yeah.
I know Ed Hoffman won some, Larry Schuler won some, and that, basically kind of took us, through the 90s to where now Eddie Hoffman is winning them instead of Ed Hoffman. And, you kind of get further down the line into some names that we know now, the Pat Kellys, Boris Yurkovic, again, Dave Waltmeyer, Brett Sontag won a few of those. So it was, like I said, it's kind of like the best of the best out there. It was always a cool deal to see, all the different drivers from all the different tracks to go out there and see that stuff. And kind of a relative unknown, Scott Tomasic was the final winner at Illiana Motor Speedway. I'm convinced that's going to be a trivia question somewhere down the line when I do a Chicago Racing Jeopardy game. But he was the final winner, and in kind of an upset, I can still remember that battle he had with Boris Yurkovic.
Yep.
And holding him off, and then, like I said, then we went to Grundy County Speedway. Ricky Baker won a couple of them back to back, and Paul Schaefer Jr. And we had a wide open field, I think, this weekend to see who's gonna, as we like to say, who's gonna add their name to the back of the shirt. So
yeah, there you go. Favorite Bettenhausen memory?
I was wondering if you were going to ask me this, and it's tough because I read everything with racing. Even growing up as a kid, I was reading. I'm going to say Stan Kalwazinski's name probably a dozen more times throughout this interview. But I remember being a kid with a subscription to Stock Car Racing magazine and Midwest Racing News. I wasn't even 10 years old, I think, and that's how much I was into racing. I had subscriptions to these things, and just to me, it's almost like reading about the old days almost as like larger than life than the races you went to, with all the names of the heroes you had growing up, all the the Arco drivers, all the traveling stars that came. A lot of people don't realize this, for as long as I've been in racing, my first Bettenhausen wasn't until 2001. So a lot of people, when I tell them that, are surprised. I was at Raceway Park all the time and
right.
never really went to Illiana, and there's little bits and pieces that kind of stand out. I mean, obviously that Scott Tomasic battle with Boris, and you get to watch that on video as YouTube became more predominant, and later on here you get to see that stuff. God, I remember one Bettenhausen to where we were like maybe 20 laps in, and Chris, you would probably remember this. Maybe both of you will. And I want to say we had like 11 cars left. I mean, it was
God.
just...
Yeah. Oh, I remember that. That's probably one that stands out the most. Yeah, that's the one that stands out the most to me.
That's not the favorite memory.
Well, that's not the favorite, but that's the one that...
but
definitely the one that stands out the most.
Yeah. I want to say, that year, Jim Carson with a Late Model Digest was at the Bettenhausen, and him and I were sitting on the backstretch wall to the quarter mile there during one of the 7,493 cautions we had, just looking at the, I believe, Purdue and Notre Dame scores, because we were just bored out of our mind because we were cleaning up yet another wreck.
Yeah, we were one of the cars that had to get scraped off the backstretch, I think. So.
And what you failed to mention, Chris, was that Purdue Notre Dame game. That was a bowl game. That was on New Year's Day, and you guys were still in infield.
It sure felt like it.
Like I said, little things like that. I guess just being part of it. I remember the first couple. They would add the Mid-American cars, and it was kind of like you kind of got the sense of it. Like, wow, this is kind of a big deal. I had been to Short Track Nationals, and I had seen Monza 300s at Raceway Park and stuff, and at the end of the year, the Schuler Memorial at Grundy was their big deal. But to kind of see it up close firsthand, those first couple of years, was kind of cool. And then just working there, it was such a long day, and dealing with all the cars going through tech, all the other divisions and stuff like that. But it was, like I said, just I wish I had a better answer. I really do. They kind of, especially when you work there, I think they kind of blend into each other. To me, on a personal level, it was a great deal to be able to keep that race alive, and to have it come to Grundy County Speedway, and to have Tom White, go out of his way to get that Memorial, Bettenhausen Memorial 100 feature win sign that was at the Illiana Speedway for so many years, and he brought it out for the pictures. And I even think we had the trophy somehow that first year that they always used to put in the pictures. I think that's in a museum now, but back then I think we even had it for like the first picture. So that was kind of satisfying just to see the first one and to be part of it and to be able to announce the race. That was just a cool deal, I think.
Sure. Well, you mentioned a bit ago that we have a wide open field for this year's running. Run down some of the entrants that'll be making the journey to Grundy County Speedway to compete in the event this weekend.
We got a ton of them. There's a lot of times you see big races and the list cars and, it's expected entries or something like that. And we really didn't want to do that. We wanted to just list the guys that for sure had, they still might not show up, but you know what? We still got their entry fee. So, to me, I think that's enough to kind of put them on the list. We're at 33 now. From what I'm hearing, there's at least 3 more that are committed to coming. Haven't posted them yet on our official list because I don't have the entries. So as soon as I do, we'll add them. So that would put us at 36. And I still, believe it or not, think there's more room for that to grow. I still think you might have a guy like Steve Seligman, who was at the track 3-4 weeks ago buying tires. Kurt Tillman, who just kind of, hits and misses everywhere and always seems to show up for the bigger paying races at Grundy. Is he just going to show up on Friday and say, hey, I'm here? So like I said, we could be, close to 40. To me, opening this up when we first, released the entry form, the first one we got back just almost kind of told the tale of what we were going to expect. John Reynolds Jr., Driver X up at the Rockford Speedway, was our first official entry. And, to see him, he ran, a lot of people don't remember this, probably about 2015, he ran about 3/4 of a season with us. And, by the time he was done running with us, I want to say the last night he raced with us, he set fast times, so he has some experience on the track. Michael Bilderback and Jim Olson, some Rockford drivers that I'm familiar with that I think will put on a good show. Then there's some South Bend guys. I know the names, don't really, not familiar with what they've done. Austin Maynard from the South Bend Motor Speedway, along with the Ron Maynard. I believe they are related. And then there's another guy who is a track champion at the New Paris Speedway. Donnie Mangum is going to be there. It's really just a big field of everybody that kind of has a car in the area. Anybody that was at Grundy this year knows as the year went on, we started building and really starting to get these cars. It was nice to see, Giovanacci out there the last weekend of the season. He's filed an entry. Larry Middleton got into a wreck about a month ago. I hear his car is back together. He's going to be out there. Keith Tolf, a driver that won, his first career feature in a super late model, is going to be back. Tony D'Ambrose, T1. Billy Holbert's been driving the car for him. Rich Bickle has been driving the car for him. Scotty Tomasic has won a Bettenhausen driving one of those T1 cars. He sent in the mystery 2 driver entries to be announced. So we don't know who's going to be in those cars. So just like I said, a great mix of cars. Anthony Danza, it's so great to see him back running with us on a semi-regular basis. DJ Waltmeyer is back. Paul Schaefer Jr., defending race winner, is going to be out there. And then, like I said, kind of like our big 3, Eddie Hoffman. Unfortunately, Einhaus, I hear, is not going to be running the race, but Nathan Kelly, who was probably one of the strongest cars out there the last 2-3 weeks of the season, he's going to be there. We touched on Dean Patterson, his runs towards the end of the season. He's going to be there. Mike White, won a feature earlier in the season. So it's just a deep list of drivers. Still haven't gotten an entry from Ricky Baker, but I hear he is, one of the guys that is going to be there, not official. Joe Fatke, talked to him over the weekend. He said he was sending in an entry. And then I got a message, I think from Chuck Uris, probably about a week ago, and he said, your South Bend guys, and those guys out there will know the name, but I guess Bobby Blount owns a car.
Oh, okay.
And he said he was going to bring a guy down from Canada and was going to race. I guess they were going to get together and go run a race, with the CRA series. Looked at the purse and said we're going to go run the Bettenhausen instead. So all I heard was a guy from Canada. Or the entry was in the mail. Have yet to get it yet.
Going through customs.
And then, and then somebody messaged me last night and said, "Hey, Steve, has this guy filled out an entry for the race?" And it was a picture from Twitter, and it was by a guy named Caden Lapsevich, and it's just a picture of his car, excited to get back behind the wheel of this beautiful Rowdy manufacturing chassis this weekend at Grundy, and it doesn't take much to put 2 and 2 together and say this is the Canadian driver. It's a blue number 16, which I remember to be Bobby Blount's colors and his number. So then I started digging about 1:30 in the morning on the internet, like I do so many nights. And this young man had an impressive resume. I don't even think he's 20 yet. He's a Pinty's Series former champion. 2016. Not a lot of people know what that series is, but if you do, you're well aware of it, and that's a pretty impressive add on your resume. I think he's a 16-year-old, won the Pinty Series championship in Canada, and he was a NASCAR Next driver, which is kind of like not their Drive for Diversity type deal, but
development
program.
Young kids.
You're going to be something one day, young man, if you can find millions in sponsorship. So, and a Rowdy manufacturing car. I mean, those cars have been good. You see what Boris Yurkovic's done in one of them all year. Yeah. And like I said, if those 3 drivers, again, they're not added to the official list yet, but if they, get an entry in, that'll put us at 36. Going to go through a practice on Saturday. Unfortunately, you always seem to lose a couple drivers. Somebody, knock on wood, this doesn't happen, but somebody loses a motor, or somebody just, breaks something and just can't get it fixed in time for the weekend. So, may gain a few more, may end up losing a few more, but I look at last year when I think we had 21 cars, which was kind of a head scratcher, because with the money that we paid last year, almost identical to what we're paying this year,
right.
And on a tire that supposedly everybody wanted last year, to only get 21 cars was very disappointing to me, for the simple fact that when I think big races, I think a lot of cars. I think qualifying races. I think you have to race your way in. I think you have to run the last chance race, and you hate to say it in this day and age, but there's going to be guys that are going home.
Absolutely.
And everybody has so much money in these cars and everything, and it's a fortune to race them. I get that, and you don't really want to send somebody home. But that's when you know you got a big deal, when you're sending people home. And with 21 cars, it just, not saying the race wasn't great last year, because it was, it just kind of changed the whole dynamic. We cut out the 2 qualifying races because there was really, no point in doing it. Or maybe we did them and we just used them as their starting spots, but really nobody was really racing because everybody knew they were in. But I want to say we didn't even do it. I don't think we did a last chance race. It just kind of changed the whole dynamic of the day for me. So to see where we're at, to see, there's a lot of people behind the scenes. You could get into sponsors. Joe with Elite Trade Show has been nothing but wonderful to deal with since day one, since we brought this race to Grundy County Speedway. Without his help, we wouldn't be able to do it. Lisa's Checker Flag Booth adding, so much money, to the purse and getting sponsors. And I didn't mean to go down this path, but as long as I'm doing it, I feel like I got to mention some other guys.
Sure,
Johnny B, a guy that if you see on Facebook, he does a lot of things in the dirt world. He loves the street stocks. He loves the underdog kind of classes, and he came up to me and said, "Steve, I got an idea." And I said, "Okay." And he said, I'll meet you at the track next week. And I go and meet him on the pavilion side, and he hands me 2 envelopes, and he goes, here's $500 extra for the street stock winner, and here's $500 extra for fast time for the street stock division. And just blown, just blown away with stuff like that. Mike's Furniture out of Joliet came on with some extra bonus money for the street stocks. Patterson Racing is giving some bonus money, for the pure stock division. Chuck Uris and Lisa's Checker Flag Booth putting up some extra money for fast time in the pure stock division. G&T Enterprise is coming on board with some bonus spot finishes. So just like I said, everybody came on board to make this work. But I guess where I was actually going with this is Chuck Uris really stepped up and went to some tracks and talked to some drivers, and to get Michael Bilderback and John Reynolds and Jim Olson from the Rockford Speedway, and to see Austin and Ron Maynard and Mangun from New Paris to come. And I'm sure that's how they heard about it. Bobby Blount and that group heard about it from maybe being at South Bend Motor Speedway. So the going that extra mile just to try to get some cars to show up was he went above and beyond. He loves racing just like the rest of us do. But to be sitting at 33 cars right now, knowing that we're probably going to be at 36, and also knowing that if all the stars line up and this guy decides to run, or every year it seems like some guy pulls in the pits and you're like, whoa, I didn't expect him to be here.
Right.
I had no idea he was running. So again, not trying to get too excited. There's a chance we might have 40 cars in the pits. So like I said, that's really going to be exciting. The money that the street stocks get to race for is their biggest purse of the year, not only for qualifying but for the feature. Same with the pure stocks, their biggest purse of the year, $100 for fast time. I mean, they don't get even $10 for qualifying. There's no money for that on a regular night. And then what people fail to realize is we should have a great grandstand. And as a race car driver, sitting in those cars, when you're there on a Friday night in May, it's the second night of the season, the kids are still in school, it's 49 degrees out, and you're wondering, man, should we have raced tonight? And the stands, there's plenty of seating. We'll leave it that way. But when you're there for the Bettenhausen, the biggest race of the year, and you look up and the stands are packed, and you're going for the biggest purse of the year, and if you win that feature, you're going to get that big, 4-foot check from Patterson Printing and Victory Lane and all that. It's pretty cool to race, just in front of a big crowd, as opposed to just maybe say like a weekly crowd.
Yeah, absolutely. And we definitely hope the crowd is big, both in the pits and in the grandstands.
Tell you what, I can't remember the last time I saw 30 late models in the same place at the same time.
It's been a while.
Yeah, like I said, Greg McCarnes does a great job with Midwest Tour and Tundra and CRA, with their traveling races. But, even a lot of theirs, they get, 18, 20, cars or whatever. And then some, obviously you can take a race like Milwaukee. They had a great field of cars. Oktoberfest is just ridiculous. The amount of cars they get up there. It's the last blast. Everybody wants to race one more time. Oktoberfest is such a traditional type event. But yeah, it's a rarity nowadays in super late model racing to get 30 plus cars. I saw, that Money in the Bank race we were talking about that Boris won. Right. I want to say there was 20 cars there. There was the Master at the Pros or Pro at the Master, whatever. You get the green jacket. I know that, and I want to say that was a huge money race, and I want to say they only had 19 cars for that. The Redbud 400. I watched that on the internet, and I think they had 19 cars. So anytime you can put 30 plus cars together with it almost has an Artco type feel to it, and I'm showing my age, obviously, but Artco to me was always like your locals against the traveling hotshots. You look at John Reynolds, a former, national short track championship winner a few years ago. Michael Bilderbeck just got crowned, Rockford Speedway champion last weekend. Donnie Mangun won the championship at New Paris a couple weeks ago, got crowned champion. This guy from the mystery guy from Canada, like I said, a Pinty Series champion. We all know about that race in Canada they had a couple weeks ago, $75,000 to win. Huge race. Didn't read too much on it, but I did see on his Twitter feed that he was the fastest car in practice. So with the field of cars they had for that, don't know how he did in the race, but when you're the fastest car in practice for a race that pays $75,000, I think you kind of got your stuff together. So it's going to be great to see those guys go against, our young guns, Nathan Kelly, our our veterans, Eddie Hoffman, Paul Schaefer Jr., wanting to win this race back to back. Ricky Baker, he's been with us twice, second time at the track this year on those tires, and wins the Lee Schuler Memorial. So it's just, and the tire, I think, is kind of an equalizer where it, just changes some things, mixes some things up, and I think it's going to be an interesting top 14 for qualifying, and I think it's just going to be an interesting night to, all the way through.
Awesome. Well, I know everybody's looking forward to it, Steve, and we definitely want to thank you for stopping by and talking about it with us and hyping the event. I know hopefully everybody that listens to this is super excited to.
We're super excited.
Get to the track, and whether you're competing or just watching and take part in what sounds like it's going to be a pretty big event.
Thanks, guys. Hey, real quick, I just got to kind of give it one more plug. We're practicing Friday from 5 to 9, rotating divisions with our street stocks, pure stocks, and late models. Only the divisions that are racing are going to be allowed to practice. Free grandstand admission. So if you want to come on out and see all these cars, I would imagine almost every one of those late models is probably going to be there on Friday testing free grandstands. You can come on out and check that out. Saturday for the race, 4:30 the gates open. Qualifying at 5:30. This is the only time during the year where I think a lot of people really get excited to watch qualifying, because once we hit 15 cars, we're bumping. We're bumping guys out of the the guaranteed stuff. So qualifying at 5:30, first race at 7 o'clock. Grundy County Speedway Online.com is the website if you need more information, or if you're on Facebook like so many of you guys are, just search Grundy County Speedway, give us a like, and we hope to see you guys at the races this weekend.
Awesome. Well said, Steve. We're definitely looking forward to it. And like I said, man, thanks for stopping by and talking to us.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate everything you guys do for racing, Chris, with your photography and everything, and then you guys with the radio show as well. We really appreciate the support, all the stuff you do for all the local racers, fans, etc. And keep doing what you guys do, man. I really enjoy it.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you,
Steve.
Thank you, man.
We will be talking with you later.
Take care, buddy.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.